Tomorrow, Thursday, 21st of August, News Central will be hosting the One Middle Belt, One Voice town hall meeting, convening stakeholders across political, ethnic and religious, not forgetting to gender lines, to deliberate on challenges and chart common grounds on the insecurity crisis in the region. Nigeria's Middle Belt is trapped in a cycle of insecurity, from violent clashes to mass displacement. Well, News Central will now be leading the conversation and pushing for change by amplifying the voices of survivors, generate practical recommendations for governments and security agencies, and also establish the foundation for a long-term regional agenda anchored on peace, justice, and socio-economic stability. But first, to join us in highlighting some of the issues to be addressed at the One Middle Belt, One Voice Town Hall is Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the Middle Belt Forum, Dr. Stanley Kavwam. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks for joining us right on time. It's just a few hours before the News Central Town Hall will begin. Can you shed more light on what the anticipation looks like, especially from the people of the Middle Belt?
Good morning, viewers. Thank you for having me. The One Voice Town Hall organized by News Central to discuss and brainstorm on the insecurity that's ravaging and changing the entire demography of Middle Belt is indeed one patriotic gesture by the television to actually engage and interrogate the issues that are often misrepresented, or in some cases deliberately distorted, that at the end of the day the truth about what we're dealing with within the Middle Belt remains a myth. In particular, the insecurity ravaging the Middle Belt dates back to the medicinal religious interruptions. When you look at the Kalakato, when you look at the Taliban, you look at the Boko Haram, including the banditry in the northwest, the latest one we have Kwara, we have Mahmuda. All of these fronts actually have a root that is all based on an ideology to what? To what? Chase, kill people, and take over land. Now, we have never really understood and interrogated the proof and the motivating factor behind all of these attacks. And the reason is simply because land defines your identity. Land gives you a sense of belonging. Your personality, your history, your genealogy, and whoever you are is tied to land. And that is why when you look at even a small country like Monaco, which is on the axis of the Mediterranean bordering France, as small as it is, in the United Nations General Assembly, it has what? A seat allocated to it. It has a flag, it has an identity, and it is given the status of a nation state simply because what? It occupies what? A defined geographical location. In other words, it possesses land. Now, by the time you take over land from any human being, from any group, from any ethnic nationality, you have completely stripped them of their humanity, you have stripped them of their identity, you have stripped them of anything that defines them as humans. When you, to further drive the understanding of land, for instance, to the Jew in Israel, for instance, land for him represents the covenant between him and his maker. And there are certain rules and laws that God has instituted for you to be able to occupy, for them to occupy such the land. And there are places you would see from the Bible where they did certain things by abandoning Yahweh to worship other gods, and they were what? They were eventually taken into captivity and they lost the land. But when they repented and came back to him, they were able to what? Return back to that particular land he has given them. To the African, land represents a heritage, an inheritance that is passed from what? Ancestors to the current generation as it is to what? It is meant to be preserved, it is meant to be kept, and it is meant to be what? Managed, because the ancestors' spirit live in the land. Land, to the average Westerner, it is something that is to be what? Explored, investigated, and the resources underneath exploited and what? Processed to solve problems in society.
Okay.
So, if land is this important, and that everything, what defines a nation, what defines a country, what gives you an identity is simply because you occupy land, and the people who are redefining the entire demography of the Middle Belt are people who have no any ancestral land within Nigeria, because these are people, particularly the Fulani, they are marauders who only invade, coming from different parts of Africa to what? Displace, kill, and what? Subdue communities and then take over their land. You will now understand that, one, given the principles of liberal democracy, which is built on equality, on liberty, on freedom and justice, as well as equity. Now, juxtapose that with a philosophy that is made on domination, on slavery and submission. You can now see that the pattern of all the attacks that have completely ravaged the entirety of the Middle Belt is intended to what? Completely displace, remove the people from the land, so that what? The Fulani terrorists can occupy and what? Eventually what? Completely change the entire narrative and the history of these places. Because for on the Plateau alone, there are about 164 communities that have been taken over by these terrorists. They have completely dislodged the inhabitants and they now inhabit these communities. Now, the same goes for West in Benue State, where out of the 15 local government, 15 wards of the local government area, 14 have so far been taken over by Fulani terrorists. It is only the local government headquarters, Naka, that is still, to a large extent, accessible to the chief. In the Middle Belt Town Hall we held in Benue, of course, revelations came to the fore. And all that we can say is this: their mission is particularly tilted towards what? Killing, dislodging inhabitants, and what? Occupying their land. Because without land, there is no way you can produce your economic livelihood. There is no how you can in any way engage in politics, in economy, and in what? In the general economic activities.
Now, Dr. Stanley, if I may interrupt you at this, Dr. Stanley, you've laid the foundation for this discussion, and moving forward, because of want of time, and I would like you to apply brevity in answering our questions so we could pack in as many as possible within the short time we have here. What would be a successful town hall for you? Can you paint a picture for us, and what would you like to see implemented?
Okay. Number one, truth actually dies in darkness, and any person who has lost their land would certainly have lost their voice, and by losing their voice, they would lose their destiny. Therefore, this conglomeration of academics, of religious leaders, of political leaders, of leaders of sociocultural organizations, civil society organizations, development and community leaders, security agencies, and the entire public coming under a roof to brainstorm and interrogate all the issues precipitating the violence that's being orchestrated on peaceful and harmless communities. It's intended to at least be a clinical medication that would help us towards a solution to what? End the cycle of violence in the Middle Belt. Particularly, there are people who profit from all of this madness going on in the Middle Belt. In particular, there are political angles to some of all of this that is happening. And what we understand is that religion, like I have always stated, is principally and essentially a spiritual issue and exercise which arises from man's quest and search for answers to the ultimate, universal, non-material issues of existence. Therefore, if religion is now being used to champion and drive a political agenda, it then tells you the insincerity, and it means that what? There are people that are fueling and sponsoring it behind the scene. So what this town hall hopes to attain or achieve is to create a platform for a very, very honest conversation and interrogation of the issues from all stakeholders that we gather in Jos for this particular event. And beyond that, the experiences of survivors and those who have been victims, who have come face to face with violence and terror, would deepen and change the narrative, which is often sensationally distorted in mainstream media to give an idea that it is a clash between communities. The point is this: when you talk of a clash, there must be movement by two opposing parties. And we're talking about people, women, children, even unborn babies being slit into pieces. People sleeping in their homes, being attacked, their houses burned, and in some cases their corpses are burned beyond repair, beyond recognition. You're talking about farmers going to the farm and being ambushed and killed. You're talking about even village members going for a funeral and they are being ambushed and killed. That is not in any way a clash. But the point is that there is a genocidal agenda by the Fulani terrorists to completely take over the Middle Belt, and we must speak out the truth and let's call a spade a spade. And by virtue of this conversation, which New Central has brought into the theater of this violence, I believe that it would significantly change the narrative. Because
Dr. Stanley Kavwam, I would like to interject at this point to just clarify something, which is something that has been the cause of discourse, Fulani terrorists. Let's rather call them terrorists. There are those who would argue that, you can't paint a whole tribe or a whole ethnicity as terrorists. There are Fulani people that aren't terrorists. There are terrorists that are Fulani people. So let's rather stick to
from other tribes.
Exactly. Let's rather stick to calling them terrorists. How do you think that the rest of the world or the rest of the country can contribute to advocating for more attention to be paid to what's happening in the Middle Belt?
Okay, thank you very much. The point is this: when I talk of Fulani terrorists, I'm talking about the terrorists that are killing our people. So the point is this: by the time I see a madman and a mechanic, all of them looking dirty, all of them looking the same way, the fact is this: unless you are able to separate the mechanics from the mad people, as far as I'm concerned, since they all look the same, they dress the same way, they carry out their attacks and all of the violent orchestration on peaceful communities in the same manner. And the fact is this: it is not only on the Plateau, it's not only in Benue, it's not only in southern Kaduna, it's the entirety of the Middle Belt. And even when there is even when there are terrorist attacks, even in the south, in the southwest, they're in Bayelsa, they're in Port Harcourt, they're in Imo, they're in different parts of the country, and it is only one ethnic group that has been fingered. So you can't tell me that there is no correlation between these violent orchestrations and the ethnicity of the perpetrators. So what we're seeing, I'm actually talking about the terrorists that are killing our people. And because this is what we have been seeing, and this is what we feel, and that remains the fact. It is not about, of course, we cannot say that all Fulani people are terrorists. But the point is that the terrorists that are killing people within the Middle Belt are Fulani.
Have you done an investigation? Have you interviewed
anyway, Dr. Stanley,
apprehended?
Dr. Stanley, I mean, the views you express on the live show right here, let's just make clear that it's expressly your views. It's not the views of the channel as News Central.
But we do have a responsibility.
Absolutely. Our goal for the town hall is to ensure that we extricate, or better still, take a look at every single thing that has happened to the Middle Belt and also highlight the way forward, since we'll be having different persons from security and the likes all come together. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. But we're excited because we look forward to see you there tomorrow. We do understand that the team is already on ground, and you yourself will be on ground as well to ensure that we do have a smooth running of what will take place tomorrow. So thank you so much for your time, Dr. Stanley. We'll communicate again tomorrow when our correspondent will also have you join us again live, if not on breakfast, but on our other subsequent programming. Thanks for your time, and have a fantastic day ahead as we look forward to tomorrow.
All right, thank you.